Hey guys, this is Not Lammers of Invoked 101. Welcome back, and today we're taking a look at my World Celebration event deck profile. This is my 8th place Falafel deck profile. So, like I said, I got 8th place with this. I took this to Worlds. Not to Worlds, but the World Celebration event. And that was pretty fun. I do have a Worlds format live duel, not from that event, but using, I believe it was Buster Blade or Guard Dragon versus Thunder Guard Dragon. So if you guys want to check that out, just leave that down in the comments below and I'll get that up. It is a really cool duel. But yeah, this is the deck profile that I played. And before we get into it, down in the description there's a link to the Patreon. If you feel like supporting the channel, that's definitely the way to go about it, as it allows us to make more deck profiles for you guys. There's also a link to the Teespring if you feel like picking yourself up some merch. We have t-shirts, hoodies, stuff like that. And then down there as well is a link to the Discord, so if you like chatting with us, we're pretty active in the Discord. Anyways, with that out of the way, we're going to set the extra deck and the spells and traps out of the way and get right into the main deck monsters. And we're just going to zoom in a touch. So the first one we're going to be playing is Triple Falafel Dog. This is your searcher for the deck. On normal or special summon, it can search any Falafel or a Edge Imp Sabers, which is pretty cool. It's a hard once per turn. He's also pretty big with 1700 attack, so not bad. I had to play mixed rarities because I don't have a third super rare one, so little sad boys there. And then we play Triple Falafel Bear, because this gets you Toy Vendor. You get to discard it and then set Toy Vendor directly from the deck. So that's really useful, especially with the way that the deck wants to play. Of course, we also have double Falafel Wings. I didn't think playing 3 was necessary. I felt that only 2 was fine. What this does, this is your main draw engine right here, is the dog, the bear, and the wings. So what this does, Wings says, if this card is in your graveyard and you control Toy Vendor, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target a Falafel monster in your graveyard, banish it. If you do, draw a card, then send one Toy Vendor you control to the graveyard, and if you do, draw a card. So it lets you draw 2 by sending, by banishing 2 Falafels and sending Toy Vendor to the grave. And then Toy Vendor lets you search a Falafel or Edge Imp Sabers when it's sent to the graveyard. So it lets you basically get 3 cards to your hand. And then we play Falafel Owl, which is your polymerization searcher. On normal or special summon, it gets to search polymerization, or you can pay 500 and fuse using hand or field. So that's pretty cool. And then we have Falafel Penguin, which is one of my favorites. I think Falafel Penguin is like legit one of the best Falafels. Its effect is during the main phase, you can special summon 1 Falafel monster from your hand except Penguin. This effect can only be used once while this card is face up on the field. If this card is sent to the graveyard as a fusion material for a fusion summon of a Frightfur fusion monster, you can draw 2 cards, then discard a card. You can only use each effect of Penguin once per turn. So yeah, not only does it let you cycle through your deck, it lets you get more guys on board. And then we have Falafel Cat, which lets you, if it's used as a fusion material, you get to add polymerization back to your hand. I found this to be very useful, just going through the deck, and when I saw it, I used it as material because most Frightfurs need a non-specific Falafel and a more specific Edge Imp, so I felt that the Cat was definitely very nice to have, as it let me just fusion climb, which this deck is kind of all about. That's it for the Falafels. As for the Edge Imps, I play the, of course, mandatory 3 Chain. This is like the best Edge Imp, and so his effect is when this card declares an attack, you can add an Edge Imp Chain from your deck to your hand, and then if this card is sent from hand or field to the graveyard, you can add a Frightfur card from your deck to your hand. You can only use 1 Edge Imp Chain effect per turn and only once that turn, but usually you're just using it to search Frightfur stuff, which is pretty fantastic. And then the last Edge Imp we play is 1 Sabers. Didn't feel that Sabers was necessarily important for the deck. I also used to play King of the Swamp, but just not anymore, just not worth it. And then the last 2 cards, because it's World format, 2 Ash, which luckily I had a pair of secret rare ones, so it looks like I had a rarity match set, but yeah. World's format, you can only have 2 Ash. Going into the spells and traps, we're going to get those out. Of course, because it's Falafels, you gotta play 3 polymerization, like, just to start your plays, you gotta play this. And then, of course, I also ran 2 Frightfur Fusion, which is kind of like, it lets you banish the materials from graveyard, which is pretty fantastic. And then it is a hard once per turn on the Frightfur Fusion. And then we also got double Instant Fusion to get some of our play started. This gets you out the Frightfur Sheep, so that way you can climb into Sabertooth and then keep going and going and going. So which is kind of the way that this deck plays in a link format. And then we have the triple patchwork. This is like the best card in the deck. It searches polymerization and an edge imp, so it kind of removes the need for King of the Swamp, because this did kind of what King of the Swamp did, except this is way better. This is literally Pot of Greed in this deck. And then we also have Triple Toy Vendor. This card is fantastic. It says once per turn you can discard a card, draw a card, show it, and if it is a Fluffle, you can special summon one monster from your hand. Any monster. And I actually misplayed a couple times using this, because like there was one time I could have won the game if I special summoned the owl to get a polymerization, but I special summoned the dog that I had drawn, even though I'd already used dog's effect, so I shafted myself that game, but it's all alright. After that, we got double Foolish Burial Goods, because like I said, when Toy Vendor is sent to the graveyard, it gets to search a Fluffle or an Edge Imp, so this can send it straight to graveyard and proc its effect. And then I also played 2 Called by the Grave to stop hand traps, because one of the big things about this deck is going against hand traps, so I felt the Called by the Grave in here was definitely necessary. And then Frightfur Factory, and Suture Rebirth. For this is just more polymerizations. You banish a poly and then or a fusion spell card, and then you get to use and then this basically becomes a polymerization unless you use hand or field. And then Suture Rebirth is a monster reborn for Fluffles or Frightfurs, but it negates their effects. And then Foolish Burial to get stuff in the graveyard, specifically like Edge Imp Chain, or not Edge Imp Chain, like Edge Imp Sabers, or any other material that I might be missing for a fusion monster, and then one monster reborn just for the revival. And that's it for the main deck. That's it for the main. And then going into the extra deck, we have double Frightfur Sheep. This guy is your instant fusion target, and he also, if he's destroyed by battle or card effect, by opponent's card effect, he gets to come back 800 points stronger, which is pretty cool. And then I only played the one Tiger. You don't ever need more than one. I felt that having one Tiger was perfectly fine. This guy said he needs Sabers and one or more Fluffles, and it says when this card is fusion summoned, target cards on the field up to the number of fusion materials used for its fusion summon, destroy them. And then it says all Frightfurs gain 300 attack for each Fluffle and Frightfur monster you control, but you can only control one Tiger. So I just felt like he's more of an ending, like I'm about to win card, so that's the only time I ever summoned him. I think I summoned him about 3 or 4 times total. And then one Wolf. Wolf is another like really endgame card. I summoned this, I think, like if I didn't summon Tiger, I summoned Wolf, so I probably summoned him about as much. And his effect is needs to be fusion summoned with the above materials, which is Edge Imp Sabers or one or more Fluffles. And then it says this card can attack a number of times each battle phase up to the number of fusion materials used for its summon. So there was multiple times like I'd have like a Sabretooth, Wolf, and then Wolf, and I would have like, or I would have like a Sabretooth over here, and then like I'd fusion summon into the Wolf, and I would just banish all my graveyard. So he'd have like 8 attacks or 6 attacks, like more than enough to win. So, and he'd be like 24, so he'd just be able to swing into it. Yeah, so Wolf is just your big ender. And then I played one Frightfur Daredevil. This was actually a gift, a birthday present that one of my buddies got me. And so I've always just kept it in my Fluffle deck because I think he's neat, and this actually held up against in some games for me. This was a really cool card. I summoned it like I think three times. Its effect is when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent. This card is destroyed by battle or leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect while the owner controls it. You can inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each Frightfur monster in your graveyard. So you can only use each effect of Daredevil once per turn. So I actually was able to do some pretty big burn damage, and he's a 3k 22, so he's pretty big. And I believe he has the flip stats of Frightfur Kraken, who has 22 3k. Kraken is the other generic one. He just needs an Edge Imp and a Fluffle, and Kraken is probably the best Frightfur that doesn't need a Frightfur monster as material. He is probably the best one. His effect is once per turn, you can target a monster your opponent controls, send it to the graveyard. This card cannot attack directly the turn this effect is activated, and then it has the other effect, which is it can make a second attack during each battle phase, and then it says once per turn at the end of the battle phase, if this card battled, change this card to defense mode. You can change this card to defense mode. So I would like, if my opponent had like more than 3 monsters, I would send one to the graveyard and just swing with this, and then flip it to defense mode. Like. And my opponent got confused because he thought that it couldn't attack at all if it used the send effect. And I was like, no, he just can't hit directly. So this guy was super useful. After that, you have the mandatory guy, which is 3 Edgemp Frightfur Sabretooth. This guy is a mandatory 3 of in this deck because he is what makes this deck playable in Link format. Because what you do is you make Sabretooth, and then you turn Sabretooth into Sabretooth, revive the Sabretooth with the second one, and then you turn the revived one into an invincible one, or you turn this last one into an invincible one, and then use his effect to revive the third one. And so now you have 3 Sabretooths, and they're all, like, big. Or you have 2 Sabretooths and, like, a Kraken or something like that. Like, it's mandatory that you play 3 of this guy. So his effect is he needs a Frightfur fusion monster and 1 or more Fluffle or Edgemp monsters. When this card is fusion summoned, you can target 1 Frightfur monster in your graveyard, special summon it. All Frightfur monsters you control gain 400 attack. If this card was fusion summoned using 3 or more fusion materials, it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effect. So he is the best, in my opinion, the best Frightfur fusion monster. And then it's probably like him, and then Kraken, and then maybe Daredevil or Sheep, but you're definitely using Sheep to summon this thing, like, easily. So yeah. That's it for the Fusion Boys, and then we do have some, or the Frightfurs, and then I played 1 Dragostapelia, because I was citing Super Poly, so I played that, and then I also played Starving Venom. Again, these are my Super Poly targets, and then I also played Landfalincus, because this is like kind of the unofficial Fluffle Link monster, and then I played a Blackluster Soldier, which I summoned quite a few times, honestly, and a Boral Sword, which I didn't summon at all. But I did summon Blackluster Soldier quite a few times, which is kind of funny to me. But yeah, I didn't summon these at all, because Super Poly just never came up. Like, I just never had the ability to make these, which really sucked. And then I made this a couple times, probably made this the vast majority of times, like every match I probably made this, and then every other match I probably made this. So, but that's it for the Frightfur deck. I really like this deck. I had a blast playing this at the World Celebration event because it was something stupid and something fun, just that I felt would do kind of okay at the World Celebration event, and it did all right. It held its own against a lot of the stuff there. And like I said, I probably would have beaten the one deck if I hadn't been just stupid and misplayed, but that's my fault. If you're wondering about side deck stuff, because I did side some stuff in, I sided like evenly matched because that wasn't hit. I sided the super polymerizations. I sided 2 of those because it was at 2, and I think I sided infinite impermanence as well, along with just some other, like a couple other things. But it wasn't anything super major, like nothing too big. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Before I let you guys go, I want to hear what you guys think about this deck in the comments below. While you're down there, feel free to check out the description. Once again, down there is the Discord, the Patreon, and the Teespring if you feel like checking any of that out. And I will see you guys in the next video.